Hello and welcome back to the Culture Sharks Metroid Crusade. I'm Caleb,
And I'm Junko.
and today we're going to be discussing um, what I believe is my brother's favorite game of all time, Metroid Prime, originally released on the GameCube, but uh, each of us played it on different consoles other than the GameCube. I played it on the Metroid Prime Trilogy version on the Wii, and he played it on the Metroid Prime Remaster on the Switch that was released a little bit ago. So, um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about with this one, so let's go ahead and jump in. Why don't you start us off? Tell us about this game that is your favorite game of all time.
Well, the majority of the game takes place on the planet known as Town 4, which is an old Chozo settlement that was mysteriously wiped out by a substance known as the Phazon. Came from a meteor long ago. Space pirates discovered it, decided to mine and experiment with it, which led to the destruction of the frigate Space Orpheon, creating a distress signal that got our main character, Samus Aran, into the fight.
Yes, and just so everyone is aware, um, this one actually takes place before the majority of the games that we've gone over so far. In fact, at this point in the timeline, uh, at least if you don't think about the numbers that they give us because they don't make any sense, um, that this is actually the second game in the series.
although
Um,
although what's really funny is in one of the beta, like one of the cut content that was in Metroid Prime was a narration by Samus, voiced by Jennifer Hale, and she describes that this game taking place 10 years after the original Metroid.
yeah,
I doubt that. And
yeah,
I guess that's why it got cut.
yeah. I want to get to it eventually. I definitely want to get to it eventually. That the Metroid timeline actually makes no sense. um, but like I said, get to that eventually. Um, so yeah. This is in a way that, and I think you might disagree with me a little bit on this, but I stand by this. In the same way that Super Metroid is a kind of requel to the original Metroid, this is kind of a requel to Super.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Um,
The only exception I would have would be Fendrana Drifts, but other than that, yeah, there's a lot of derivative areas in this game.
Well, I mean, just by starting out, we're on a space station that had a distress signal, and by the time we get there, everybody's dead.
Well, we're not gonna feel too bad about these guys because they're space pirates and they deserve to die.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so um, I'll let you take the helm on this one. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start. Let's actually just keep going into the frigate Orpheon. What a
Okay.
great first impression the frigate Orpheon is.
Yeah. It's a requel of the Space Colony series.
But
It's
also kind of
better.
combines the finale of Super Metroid as well, because it it ends with basically a Mother Brain fight. I
Yeah,
know it's
yeah,
not. I know the Parasite Queen isn't Mother Brain, but look how you're fighting 3D Mother Brain.
yeah. I could definitely see that, which is ironic because Uh, we'll get to that in corruption. It's kind of a 3D mother brain.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, that is just sort of a thing with the Metroid series is that all artificial intelligence are organic. We saw that in Fusion.
yeah. I will say this one probably has one of my least favorite and most egregious
D-powers.
depowers. Yeah,
Yeah, a little dinky explosion, and
yeah,
now your entire suit is drained of its abilities. And this is extra funny when we after we played through Zero Mission, where it's like, oh, this is a legendary suit that we have on here, like a prophesized suit, and just gets bumped and loses everything.
yeah. So
And
I'm definitely but you know what? It's the plot.
well, yeah, well, they could have just explained. They could have simply just explained she just doesn't have her abilities right now. Same with Super, but I guess it's worth like the the Prime series will have better explanations for why she doesn't have abilities.
Yes,
Let's just
yes.
put it that way.
Um, I
And
you know what's
also and also in this level, or well, it's a level. In this level, you do get your first glimpse at Meta Ridley, and for and I will say, for as much hype that they give for Meta Ridley, uh, in the first like hour, really you really don't see a whole lot of them.
I think you see him like
You see him once.
twice,
You see him
once.
one. You
It,
see
it,
him
it, is it just Vendrana drifts?
just for Andrade drifts, and then you fight him at the end of the game.
Yeah. Um,
But hey, we had to move the plot along because why else would Samus go into that planet?
yeah. Uh, this is this
But
is
also
one
Super
of the
Metroid
reasons.
homage.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons that I kind of hope that we can. Um, I kind of hope that we can get away from Ridley.
Oh,
Uh,
I think we are actually starting to move away from Ridley in the Metroid series now. There was I won't explicitly say which game, but there was a game that's sort of a swan song for Ridley, and after that, you can't really get much higher with Ridley after that. So might as well pass the mantle off to someone else.
yeah, which I mean, as
Also,
a
also, how is Ridley gonna go to like a different dimension, like in Beyond?
I don't know. How are we gonna go to a different? We don't even know anything about Beyond Dog.
Yeah, we do. We know how we got to the different dimension. We got it from the MacGuffin.
Ah, yes, MacGuffin McGee.
Oh, here it comes. Here comes the bullcrap. One little dink, and all your abilities are gone.
Yeah,
It's the worst. But I do find it really funny that they showed the tutorial for the grapple beam, and that's like the last thing you get.
yeah, it definitely is. It's hilarious. Um, now let so we get down to Talon 4. What what do you think of that area?
Oh, when I think of that area,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think of that area. Looking up.
Yeah, I actually don't like it.
No, well, no, no. What I
We
mean is, you look up and the raindrops are on your visor. Like this is
yeah.
Metroid Prime was the start of an era, a very short-lived era, but an era I really miss in first person shooters where they focused on hyper immersion. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I
yeah, I
think
could
it
see that.
like I'm trying to think when it ended. It may have ended with ODST, but it started with Prime.
Reach.
Yeah, it ended with Reach. It ended with Halo Reach, but it started with Metroid Prime. And in that life cycle, there was the whole Prime series, Republic Commandos, uh, Half Life 2.
I
Uh,
mean the Halo games.
yeah, of course, the Halo games. Well, I would say Halo 3 onwards. Halo 2 didn't really have that, but Halo 3 onwards was a bit
Yeah,
more.
yeah. No, I could definitely see that. Uh, well, now that you've kind of thrown me under the bus, let me defend myself. No, I don't like Talon Four. I
No,
don't
I
like
can see that.
I don't like Talon Four, and I don't really like
It
Chozo Ruins either.
no, no. Here's the thing. I actually can understand that because Town 4 looks pretty, but the problem with Town 4 Overworld and Chozo Ruins is that they were developed at a different point in time in the game's life cycle where it was a third person shooter.
Yeah, because I almost was like, dude, I don't want to do this because
You were
um,
getting motion sick.
I was getting very motion sick. I'm
And
not
you
tip.
and you, yeah, you're not a motion sick guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a car sick guy. I can definitely get car sick. Um, but yeah, as far as like first person shooter motion sickness, I don't typically get motion sick. But just the
There's
verticality.
yeah, there's a lot of verticality in those first two worlds, and they just do not work with
Yeah.
the current control scheme. Because I'm gonna be honest, like to put this out here, I played the remastered version uh, Metroid Prime of Metroid Prime, but I didn't use the remastered controls with the twin sticks. I used the classic control scheme. Actually, technically, it was the hybrid control scheme, which I would consider to be Federation Force control scheme, where you have the same Prime S controls you would have on the GameCube, but when you want to move around the crosshair, you use the gyro controls.
Hmm.
That's what I used. And even with the controls that the game was made for, platforming in Talon 4 and the Chozo Ruins still sucked.
Yeah. It gets better once you get the space jump.
Yeah,
Um, but and the thing is you get the space jump kind of early on in the game, anyways, which brings me back to maybe we shouldn't have taken that away from us immediately. Like, honestly, I think that
you're not gonna like the first couple hours uh, of Prime 2. Then
no,
it
oh,
gets easy
well,
again.
Prime Two is a different game because well, yeah, but I mean, that's not the problem. The problem is like Metroid Prime Two is not a vertical game.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime Two is made as a first-person shooter or first-person adventure
Mm-hmm.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, there's just some things that I'm like, oh, maybe we should have left it. And I'm gonna go ahead and just let this.
Hmm. Hello. Hello.
It is not as great as
You
I remember.
Did you cut? I think you cut for a sec.
Oh, did I cut out?
Yeah, for a
Okay.
while.
Oh, okay. What was the last thing you heard?
It was not as good as you remember.
Yeah, but before before that, I'll just go ahead and say what I was going to say again because the the hiccup may cause people to hate me. It is a phenomenal game. This is a phenomenal game. Definitely, probably the best on the GameCube. Um, but it at the same time, it's also not as good of a game as I remember. I actually I have I had more fun, at myself uh, with Super and Fusion. Um,
I again, I can kind of understand. I think the game picks up once you kill what's the flower boss's
Flagra.
name? When you kill Flagra, that's when the game starts to pick up. But that's still like an hour or two where you're just not having a good time.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think that I don't think the game gets unique until Fendrana drifts. Because
Oh
one could argue that there's no reason for Magmore Caverns to even exist.
oh yeah, Magmore Caverns is the interstate of Talon 4.
Yeah, on nothing.
It's how you can get to areas fast,
Nothing really happens. Like you get some major items there. Um,
but no bosses.
yeah,
There are absolutely no bosses in Magmore Caverns, which is funny because this is like a weird Mandela effect thing. I remember like there's gotta be a boss fight in Magmore, even if it's like a mini boss, even if it's
no, there's
like
not even a mini
just
boss.
or even just like just the same enemy but slightly larger, or a boss that's just an enemy but it's just really hard to kill at this state, like the she goths in Fendrana Drifts. But no, no bosses.
Yeah, and
Magmore Caverns is fun to traverse. It's just I just want bosses.
yeah, and so we've done a little bit of research on the background of this game. Apparently, Thardus and it makes a whole lot of sense.
Artist,
Thardus,
the main boss of Fendrana Drifts, was supposed to be Magmore Caverns boss.
yes, and then Fendrana Drifts was actually going to have
The monkey.
I've started calling it the Hegoth.
The
Like the king.
monkey.
It's a
I just call
monkey.
it the monkey.
It's a monkey that's the king Shegoth or whatever. Uh, and so I've just
They
started calling it the
scrapped it
Hegoth. They scrapped that.
because it looked too fantasy.
Um, which I kind of understand.
But also, it's one of those things that. But wait, so the monkey goes away, but the rocks. No, the rocks gotta stay. We love the rocks.
Yeah.
Listen,
Uh,
I love the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything movie that came out like 7 years after this game came out. I want an homage to the rock monsters.
um, I and speaking of bosses, I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why. But tell me if this resonates with you. I think early game mini bosses are harder than the actual bosses in this game.
Yeah, that's because you don't have any health. So
Yeah. So
they can be punishing.
the Hive Totem and the Shegoth, those two, I actually found more difficult than Flagra or Thardus. Um, I would say that out of the main four bosses, um, I would say Thardus is probably my favorite.
Really?
Yeah. Um, Out of the main four.
I mean,
Uh,
I to be honest, I prefer Omega or Meta Ridley.
I played Omega right. You didn't.
Well,
uh,
I never witnessed you playing Omega, so
did you use super missiles on him at all?
yes,
You did?
yeah.
Because I killed him in like four super missiles.
Here's the thing: there are a surprising amount of differences between games, so maybe maybe there's something, or maybe actually, you know, it could have
Mm,
been the fact that you can like move around with the Wii version.
you can't move around,
No, you can move around in the Wii version,
but you can't in the Switch. What do you mean?
like the crosshair.
Yeah, but I turned that off.
Right.
Um,
All right.
which
All right. The apparently you got like a freaking secret strat to kill the Omega Pirate like crazy.
yeah, yeah, four super missiles. That's all you need. And then Meta Ridley pissed me off. Um, Meta
I
Ridley.
saw I I saw you fight Meta really. You were
Well,
mad.
you told me how I was supposed to fight Meta Ridley, so I did it, and it didn't work, and it wasted all my missiles.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think there was a big change with the remastered version where they buffed the flamethrower.
Yeah, flamethrower sucks in the game I played.
But flamethrower was actually pretty good against Meta Ridley in remaster. But I guess they got rid of. Well, not got rid of it. They didn't. That was not the original game.
Yeah, because I was using flamethrower on after Ridley would do his down air. Uh, for all my Smash players out there, but he, I mean, it just wasn't it wasn't hitting him. Like it was like the hitbox didn't exist. Um,
And then
so
the final phase.
yeah, the final phase. I don't know. I just I did not have a good time with Ridley. um,
Well, the final phase is actually surprisingly hard. Like like you have a good easy time fighting Ridley, and then once it gets to 10% health, he suddenly just like locks in, and next thing you know, like half your health is gone.
well, no. He activates X Factor.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so I guess we're talking about bosses now. So let's go ahead and get into the other bosses. Flogra's fine. Flogra is pretty much exactly as I remember.
Flagra's Flagra.
Um, we already talked about Thardus. I like Thardus. Thardus is a
Yeah,
cool boss.
yeah. Thardus. If I guess my only complaint about Thardus is that he's not very punishing. Like
No, not at all.
he is just a sponge. He's a punching bag.
Now I guess our opinions on Omega and Ridley are reversed because I had a good time with Omega. I didn't have a problem, but I hated Ridley. And then you had a easier time with Ridley, but I saw you playing against the Omega Pirate. You were struggling there.
Yeah.
Like you were on like phase 5 or 6 or something, and I beat him in 2 phases.
Maybe they added more health. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Um, Now I think my personal favorite though, um, the actual titular Metroid Prime boss was super cool. I really like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Um, and it was it wasn't because one thing that the Metroid uh, games have been struggling with thus far is the final boss fight is a victory lap. Um,
Yeah, like I would say Metroid One's final boss fight was a bit of a challenge,
kind of.
but that was also just a missile dump.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
Metroid Two's boss fight that
you
it,
sucked at that.
it it's hard if you don't know about the Morph thing,
Yes.
but if you do, it is easy.
Uh, mother
Metroid
Mother
Mother
Brain
Brain
is a
Mother Brain's a cutscene.
it's a joke. Yeah. I mean, it's a cool cutscene, but it's still a cutscene. And
SX
then
was okay.
well, SAX isn't the final boss though.
Right, it's the Omega Metroid.
Yeah, it's the Omega Metroid, which it's less of a cutscene, but still kind of.
It's just charge beam at it to death with very little strategy.
Um, but yeah, this one is actually kind of difficult. Um, because like you have to DMC Devil May Cry it because it'll turn different colors, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have to
That is a weird thing with this is like a weird thing with like Western developers is they always love racist weapons.
yeah, we explain that because this is on the internet. We don't need that taken out of context.
Well, yeah. Well, Western developers always have enemies that can only be killed by weapons of the same color as them.
Yeah. So
It
that
it, it,
that
it
is what.
happens it happens in Metroid Prime. It
Stop it.
happens in DMC Devil May Cry, and it happened in the new God of War game.
Oh, it did
Like
happen in New God of War. Yeah.
yeah.
You know what's funny? It actually happened. But this was actually cool. It happened in Mortal Kombat 9. Do you remember this one?
No. What
Uh,
happened?
so it was a challenge tower challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were fighting Shao Kahn, and he would either turn blue or yellow, and you'd have to tag between Scorpion and Sub Zero depending on what color he was.
Yeah, it's fun.
Plus, it's a challenge tower, so like
It's
that makes sense.
optional.
Yeah. Um, so uh, let's now, and we've gotten bosses out. Oh, also
Also,
the
go
final
on.
phases. The final phase is great. I love that phase.
It's also the phase where it basically requires you to get all the power bomb expansions because if not,
Yeah, I I thinking back on it, that's the reason I struggled. Um, uh, the reason I struggled uh, was because of not knowing the power bomb trick, and so like having to deal with um, what were they? There were the Fisher Metroids and then the Hunter
yeah,
Metroids.
mm-hmm.
Uh, the Fisher Metroids are the ones that break into pieces, right?
Yeah, they break into pieces and then you have to shoot with specific colors.
Yeah, those suck. Um,
Do you know why those color coded enemies suck in this game? Do you
um,
really know why? Because the wave beam sucks in this game.
yeah, I've been a wave beam. I've been
Supremacists.
supremacist this entire time. This is the one time where, man, wave beam kind of sucks.
Wave beam's ability is to open doors, and that is it.
Yeah, like which is funny because they definitely put I don't know, like in the Beyond trailer when they said that you'll be able to use psionic powers to open doors. I'm pretty sure the gun that you're using is the wave beam.
It's
So
a psychic beam, which is just
uh,
the wave beam that allows you to open certain doors.
yeah, let's talk about the beams. Um, I think that the beam selection in this game is decent.
Almost like it's good, except for the wave beam, which is horrid.
I don't know, like it's one of those that like I appreciate it until you get the ice beam, and then the ice beam just kind of nullifies its actual use because a charged up wave beam can like it can
Stun
s-
lock.
it can stun lock, but then the ice beam is the ice beam.
Yeah, the ice beam not only stun locks, but if you fire a missile at them, they shatter and die instantly.
Yep.
Uh, what's funny is aside from the wave beam, because the wave beam is bad, the other beams have a sort of like FPS esque archetype in this game. So the power beam is your standard like machine gun, assault rifle, like it's your workhorse.
Yeah.
Uh, the ice beam is your shotgun,
Yeah, it's very low range. Like the projectile moves slower, and I'm pretty sure it dissipates.
uh, it doesn't because I have actually sniped people with sniped space pirates with
So
it, but
it just moves that slow.
it just moves that slow. It's meant for close encounters. And the plasma beam, that's your like sniper or rail gun.
Yeah. Um,
And the
and then you charge it up, and it does the same amount of damage as well, almost the same amount of damage as
super
as a
missile.
missile. Yeah. I still think that like if we're talking about like what's the most reliable weapon that you get in this entire game, I would say super missile.
Yeah, like
Like even more so than missile.
sure there's bugs in the game that let you like cancel the missile over and over so you can have rapid fire missiles, but that's a removed in remaster. So
Yeah,
I couldn't use that, so I had to rely on super missiles.
yeah. Well, I mean, like I could do that, and I still super missiles are still better, but even without the even with the rate of fire thing. Um,
Especially since a lot of these bosses require more burst damage than like long term damage.
yeah, like if they were Destiny boss fights, then sure.
Well, even
The
certain Destiny boss fights, they require more burst damage than long term damage. If
yeah,
if, if you want a good example of like if you're a Destiny player and you want to know what Metroid Prime boss fights are like, it's like if every boss was Atrax in terms of damage, just
yeah.
super fast.
I would wager that a lot of well, you know what it's hard to say. Because I would like, well, I think a lot of Destiny players have played this, but actually, no, I don't think so. They probably had Xboxes and were playing Halo. If you're a Destiny player, play this game. And if you like this game and you don't play Destiny, run. Uh,
uh, and hey, if you're one of those people who actually really enjoys the 343 Halo games, you're gonna really like Metroid Prime 4 because a lot of the former devs uh, of 343 work at uh, Retro Studios now, and
you
uh, and
you
also
you're gonna need
they
to pitch that better.
well, it fits the aesthetics of 343 Halo fits better with Metroid, anyways.
That's true. I think the reason that a lot of people don't like 343 Halo games is because they're not Halo games.
Yeah, like
Um,
like put Lock's suit in a Metroid game. there would be people freaking adoring the the lock suit.
Yeah. No, I could definitely see that.
Uh, Speaking of suits, let's talk about suits.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So you start off with the various suit, and then it's taken away from you.
Well,
So then you have the power suit.
yeah, and I don't like the power suit in this game. I don't like the look of it.
It looks kind of weird. It looks like that. It honestly look. It would. It's one of those that's like it looks like that she should have a cape or something.
Yeah, I find the shoulders too broad. Like there are better power suit designs. Like I love the zero mission power suit design.
Yeah,
That's probably my favorite. I love the all the fusion suit esque power suit designs with like the blue.
yeah,
Uh, but I just don't like the legendary uh the legendary power suit variant. You know, the one
yeah.
from the
I could
Prime
see that.
series to the to Super. I do not like the yellowish look. I don't like it. I think the only one that I kind of like is Samus Returns version of it,
Okay.
but even then, uh I prefer zero missions.
You know, it's one thing that I have realized, and I don't think this is a spoiler because I mean it's not like it's super important. We're actually at the point where um, the where a lot of Nintendo and by a lot I mean I have two examples, but Nintendo franchises who are known for like their specific colored costumes are just wearing blue now
Yeah,
because you got
but Metroid did it first.
yeah. Zelda's been more consistent about it though.
Yeah.
um, you see this person, they're just going for plasma beam. You got to be going for super missiles. Um,
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of these space pirate designs.
Oh yeah.
Despite
Even
hating fighting them.
yeah, fun like and I find it really funny that the like the main bulk of the space pirate designs weren't originally supposed to be space pirates.
Yeah,
They were just a remnant from Retro Studios action adventure game, and Miyamoto thought they would be cool space pirates, so they made a Metroid game out of it. So, if you thought the space pirate designs look cool in this game, guess what? Miyamoto agreed so hard that he turned action adventure into Metroid.
so the Various suit, I think this is a super basic Various suit, and it doesn't impress me at all.
I kind of like the simplicity of it, but I can kind of get why you would like it.
Uh, Echoes is
When you
just
think,
better.
well, yeah, of course, but when you think of the Varia suit, when you think of Samus, this suit design comes to mind. But I agree that the Echo's design is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
I'm gonna have a hot take. I don't like the gravity suit in the Prime series.
I can see that.
Like in the remaster, they make the gravity suit look a little better with like more glowing lights, but I never really the gravity suit looked too jarring in Prime. Like it is just straight up a recolor, and in like here's the thing. I know there's a bit of controversy around around Other M not using the gravity suit, but in some ways I can understand it because until uh until Samus returns, the gravity suit was just recolor, and and it looks jarring in 3D.
A little bit, yeah. Um, are we in agreement that the best looking suit in this game is the Phazon suit?
Of course. Let's not.
Um, I
Before you say, oh, that's just a recolor. No, it's not, because the Phazon suit has like that irradiating aura around it. Like, I'm not trying to be like saying like, oh, it just looks cool. No, I mean like a literal aura.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
It like it's literally like there's something emanating from the suit.
and I
Uh,
also just love the morph ball design of it.
yeah. One thing that I want to do, I want to do it like this is how we're gonna make a point, I guess. Or this is how we'll prove a point. Um, but um, we're not really gonna talk about like the boost ball or the spider ball or anything like that.
Oh,
I figure
I was gonna talk
I
about the ball and fireball.
I thought we'd save that for Metroid Prime 2 because they're not utilized well in this game.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
what were you gonna say about it? Oh wait,
I
here
was
we
just
go.
gonna talk about how much I love. Oh yeah, look at that aura, literal aura.
Yeah, there's actual phazon emanating from the suit. So what were you gonna talk about as far as
Uh,
the boost and spider ball?
like for the spider ball, I can understand because the spider ball wasn't really utilized a whole lot in this game. But the boost ball, I it's less of a use for like getting upgrades and more for traversal. Like there, you use it as more of a sprint. You like it's great for backtracking and makes getting the artifacts less of a pain than it really needs to be.
Yeah. Um, let's go ahead and talk artifacts. Um, this might be because I had you to coach me through it. I guess I didn't really think they were that bad. But at the same
Well,
time, when we were kids, the artifacts took us like 5 years.
no. One of the artifacts took 5 years. The
Yeah.
other artifacts, here's the thing: there are hints in the game that are pretty obvious on what to do, of where like the artifacts are and what to do. The only one where it's like a bit hard to do, like here's the thing. Me and Caleb, we did not need the hints to get 11 out of the 12 artifacts. They're pretty they were pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Except for one in
It was
Phendrana Drifts.
yeah, it was the one in Fendrana. That's what it was. Was it the one in the Hall of Elders? No.
Nope, that one's
Which
easy.
one?
You just you can do that one accidentally. Uh,
It was the one that involved the X-ray visor, right?
yep, you have to get the X-ray visor and
Which
spot a plasma door and then power bomb it. And this is a room that's way out of the way of Phendrana Drifts. You have to really want to go there.
yeah.
Every,
Um
all the other areas are pretty easy to do even without like any hints. And you can get a lot of them like along the way. Like I got like I think 3 or 4 out of the 12 by the time I got the Phazon suit.
Yeah, so did I.
So it's
Um,
not really that bad in this game. That's going to be for Echoes.
we'll get there. We'll get there. Um, all right. So what would you say is your favorite area in this um, in this entire game?
I
You
would,
know, we got
I would,
I think we're on the
I would
same
say,
page as far as Talon 4, Chozo Ruins, and Magmore. So it's really between two.
ugh, that's that's hard because I like both of them. I love the gauntlet of the Phazon Mines. That gauntlet is suspenseful.
Yeah, if I had to go with overall, I would probably have to go with the Phazon Mines. Um, as far as just like the atmosphere and the look, Phendrana Drifts wins it. But
Well,
as far as
The problem with Phendrana Drifts is after Tartarus, when you go to the
Thardus,
west of it, without yeah Thardus, uh,
this is not Hades.
or Halo 2.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right.
but after Thardus, the Phendrana Drifts kind of falls off. Like you get into the extra areas, and they're not nearly as fun as the the other parts of Phendrana Drifts. It's just there to get the gravity suit, and that's it.
Another thing for me, I always said that Phendrana Drifts had the best music, and then I was proven wrong because I forgot. I, I I forgot what the Phazon Mines music was.
Oh yeah.
uh, because like the Phazon Mines, so we back in the day, we got the silver GameCube. We got this in like 2005 for Christmas. We got the silver GameCube. Came packaged with Metroid Prime and the Metroid Prime 2 bonus disc. Um, so we could play the Metroid Prime 2 demo. Um, and then it had like the timeline of the Metroid games, and it had gameplay videos of each of the Metroid games. And so the main menu theme is ingrained in my mind, and it is the Phazon Mines theme, and I totally forgot about that. Um, so yeah, this is I came into this game with expectations, and it's like this is not at all how I expected this to go. You know, um, I I remember enjoying the early game a whole lot as a kid and not enjoying the late game. Complete opposite. I think early game for this game is not that good.
Yeah.
Late game for this game is really good.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing: once you have the plasma beam, it's just it is a scavenger hunt, but it's not like too bad of a scavenger hunt since you do get a lot of fun items like when
Yeah,
you come back. I will say this is a big problem, especially in the early game, where unless you have the hint system on, there'll be points in the game where it's like, where the heck do I go?
yeah,
Because that is a big flaw of this game is going from one world to the other, just like a lot of backtracking. Something that they definitely fixed in the other games, but the most egregious
I would say
flaw
it's
of the gravity
oh
suit.
oh the gravity suit.
Yes.
That's not what I was gonna say.
No, do you know why?
Why?
Because it tricks you. Because if because when you get the ice beam, you take an elevator that goes straight to the wrecked frigate Orpheon, trying to tell you, hey, go there. And then you go there and you can't progress because you don't have the gravity suit. And it lets you progress a decent way there. This happened to me.
Oh, by the way, I'll you know what? I'll say this. I'll say this. I as much as I say Magmore Caverns shouldn't exist, it's still fun.
Oh yeah,
The wrecked ship is just there because this is a Super Metroid remake.
yeah, because it's like I want the wreck ship, but we're not gonna bring any things that makes the wreck ship cool.
Yeah,
Like
there's not a
ghosts. There's no ghosts. There's no AI that activates after you kill Phantoon. It's just a wrecked
there's
frigate.
no yeah there's nothing interesting about it.
There's no new
Uh,
items you get in there either.
no, it is just the transit to get to the Phazon
The
mines.
mines. And after you get to a decent way into the mines, you don't even need to go in there anymore. It's dumb.
Yeah. No, what I was gonna say was actually how you go from Chozo Ruins to Magmore Caverns to Fendrana Drifts, and then you have to go all the way back to Talon 4 to get
Yeah.
the space jump boots, and then you have to go
Yeah.
back to Fendrana Drifts,
Yep.
and then you have
That
to go
that
to Magmore Caverns, and then you got to go back to Fendrana Drifts, and this is all before you fight a boss.
mm-hmm. I think those are the two most egregious examples. After
Yeah,
that, it's pretty. It's fine. It's just why Super Metroid didn't do that. Other Metroids didn't do that. This is actually, I think, the most Metroidvania of all the Metroid games. Ironically enough, because if you actually play Metroidvania games, you quickly realize that they're more inspired by the Vania of Metroidvania rather than Metroid, because it takes a lot of liberties from Symphony of the Night. And I know this because I played it recently.
you played it on an iPhone on the way to Florida.
Yeah.
um,
And it got me to know a lot about that game.
um, but yeah, so I'm trying to think. Is there much else to say about Metroid Prime?
Scan.
Um,
Well, we never talked
oh,
about the
oh,
scans.
right. We totally skipped over visors. Um, so let's save. Even though it's the first visor you get, we'll save the scan visor for the last one because that's the one to talk the most about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, X-ray visor is a gimmick.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, so is thermal,
yeah,
but
they're both.
at least thermal at least helps you like see dark like areas
Yeah, it helps you see in the dark. Like, no, the X-ray visor really is just either see an invisible enemy,
or for a fun
uh,
boss fight.
or for a fun boss fight, or to see like hidden items that you can power bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is kind of what it was used for back in Super as well. Um,
Yeah,
which is funny because I never used the X-ray visor in Super.
that I just reminded of another flaw of this game that was fixed in the other subsequent Metroid Prime games. Bendesium. What I mean is,
Yeah.
they never tell you when you scan for like a thing you can't destroy. They never tell you what item you need to destroy it with. It does its own like in lore, like unobtainium.
Yeah. Because
So
it's like, oh, this is made of bendesium. It's like, great. So I'm from Earth. What does that mean? And it
and
just
you know,
means
like
it means you got to kill it with a power bomb,
yep.
which you don't have yet.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing: I only remember Bendesium because Bendesium is the biggest tease of the game. So I'm at least gonna remember that when we play through the other Metroid Prime games. And I think you only have to deal with Bendezium from now on. Ironically enough.
I don't
Uh,
remember. Are there missile combinations in Echoes?
yeah,
There are.
yeah, they're all right.
Yeah, I don't remember them at all.
Mhm.
um, which, by the way, we talked about flamethrower and super missile. Those are really the only two to talk about because of how good super missiles are and how bad flamethrower is. Wave
Well,
buster and ice missile are fine.
yeah, they serve their purpose.
Yeah. Actually, you know what I thought was funny is uh there was that one mini boss where you had to fight the robot ghost, and you're
Hmm.
like, oh, this thing's super hard, and I'm like, okay. I use the wave buster because the Ghostbusters, and it kills them like really easy.
I
I
was
was
just
like,
like,
how did you not think of that?
I was just like, I don't know. There's no explanation for that one.
Yeah. Um,
That's just me being bad.
I don't know. It's weird because the one time you told me to do something, which was flamethrower on Ridley, it didn't work, and every other time I had to figure it out myself, and I had an easier time than you did.
Oh man. You know what's funny?
Uh,
When we're doing Metroid Prime 2, you're gonna stick to the GameCube version.
no, I'm not.
I'm going to be a masochist and play the GameCube version. Oh,
Well, I'm gonna.
you're playing the Wii version. I'm playing the GameCube version
Yeah, I don't know why you're doing that to yourself.
because I already beat the game on Wii, and
Yeah,
I want to know.
yeah. That's what it comes down for me. Is I never beat this on the Wii. I beat this on the GameCube, but not the Wii, and I beat Metroid Prime 2 on the GameCube, and not the Wii. Uh, so that's what I'm doing now. That's why. Plus, let me go ahead and talk about the Wii remote controls. I actually prefer them. In fact, before Metroid Prime Trilogy came out, I always said that my favorite of the three was Corruption, specifically because I preferred the motion controls to the GameCube controls. Um, so yeah, there is that. I'm just I like the pointer controls a lot. I think it's really intuitive. Um, also, the the default controls are B to jump and A to shoot, and I never changed them as a kid. I'm convinced that this is the game that got me to play Bumper Jumper. Um, so yeah, back to the
well,
visors.
back to like the scan visor because
Yeah, yeah.
what
So
else is there to do? The thermal visor helps you open doors.
yeah, yeah. So
Psychic
uh,
abilities.
psychic abilities to open doors. Um, yeah, I mean, scan visor. Scan visor is what this game's about,
Yeah. I again, I'm a masochist, so I went through 100% scans in this game.
and I didn't.
And here's the thing: most of it isn't too bad. You can clean up a bunch of the scans later as long as you scan the bosses. Uh, there is one enemy, one vile enemy that disappears at the end of the game. Well, halfway through the game, actually, when you beat Thardus, the ice glider. I think that's what its name is. The ice glider.
Ice Shrieker,
I
maybe.
yeah, maybe the ice shrieker. Either way,
It's the thing that comes down from the ceiling and spins.
mm-hmm. There's an ice variant that's only in like one or two rooms, and if you don't scan them before being Thardus, they're gone for the rest of the game. That happened to my second playthrough of the game when I was playing through it on Wii. I
Yep.
still have nightmares about it, but I rectified it. I got 100% scans in this game, and I can say with confidence that it was definitely not worth it.
And let me ask you this: are you going to do it again for the other two?
Yes,
All right.
because because it just feels wrong. I'm not doing it for hunters. Screw that. I will not do it for hunters. That my pain can only go so far.
Is the scan visor in Federation Force?
No.
Oh, thank God.
There are like sections where you can go like learn the lore of the planets, but it's like is the most cookie cutter like planet lore things you can ever imagine. To be honest, the lore in Town 4 isn't that interesting either. It's just standard like, oh, we were a peaceful, like nature driven society, but then this great poison came and destroyed everything, but we have future vision powers, and we knew that a great hero will emerge to save us all. And that's just kind of boring.
Yeah.
What isn't boring is the space pirates.
Yeah. Those are definitely a
Space
lot of
pirates
fun.
Space pirates went from being just generic insect guys in Super to the most brutish but lovable like idiots in in sci-fi history.
They kind of remind me of grunts, honestly.
They're more like brutes from the Halo series.
A little bit, yeah.
It's like if the brutes decided to try to reverse engineer Forerunner technology, but because of their inherent brutishness, they just don't get it.
I have a
Everyone's favorite
question.
everyone's favorite scan in the game is always the one where it talks about them trying to reverse engineer all of Samus's like weapons and abilities, and they attempted to recreate the morph ball, and they stopped after a few casualties. What was your
Uh,
question, Caleb?
well, real quick, funny enough, in the versions that we played, uh, actually, was is the dread thing gone in the Wii version?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Now
so
the scans are susceptible to a lot of retcons.
yeah. So
So
Project Dread is not a thing.
that's in Metroid Prime 3.
Oh, it is in Prime 3.
Yeah. So the retcon in Metroid Prime 1. So in the original version of Metroid Prime, the Metroid Prime itself was supposed to be the origin of the Metroids. Like this is supposed to be the first Metroid, the Metroid Prime. This is where Metroids come from. They were not created by the Chozo, they were created by this meteor. But they changed it in the PAL version, PAL and Japanese version, because they were like, wait a minute, uh, fusion fusion literally goes against this, and now the Metroid Prime the Metroid Prime itself has no real origin. We don't really know why it's a Metroid.
Yeah. But once again, the timeline doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but
Um,
another favorite scan of mine from the Space Pirates is just talking about handling the Metroids from Town 4, and they specifically instructed the Space Pirates that these Metroids are tools. They are not pets. So quit having them as pets and quit feeding them. They're great. And you're gonna
um,
and and they only get better as the series goes along.
Yeah. You mentioned that they're kind of like brutes. And to bring it back to how your mispronunciation of Thardus, uh, is Ridley Tartarus?
Yeah,
All right.
like the leader of this brutish gang of
Ne'er do
uh
wells.
yeah. Like I listen. I have my own like head canons and theories of how the space pirate like power structure was in Zero Mission and Super, but we can get around to that later. Especially since we're supposed to be reading the Metroid manga as our next episode.
Yes, yes. So let's go ahead and cut that off here. This has been Metroid Prime. Um, uh, like I said, it's not as good as I remember, but it's still one of the greatest games ever made.
It,
Um,
it's like if I played through Ocarina of Time and thought it's not as good as I remember. You yourself would still be like, but it's still my favorite game.
yeah. Um,
Your favorite game is more than just the quality of the game itself. It's also how much it means to you, how it
true, true,
shaped you as a person.
true. Um, but yes. So next time, our next game is going to be Zero Mission. However, we're going to be kind of taking a detour, and we're going to read the 2 volumes of the Metroid manga that were released alongside Zero Mission. That
They're very necessary.
Yeah, they kind of detail the origin of Samus, the origin of um, her rivalry with Ridley, um, her time with the Chozo, and kind of the origin of the Mother Brain. Uh, Am I correct in that? I actually have no. This will be completely new for me. I've never read it.
I don't think they bring the origin of Mother Brain. I think Mother Brain was always around.
Okay.
Though if I made a Metroid, like if I made a Metroid Netflix animated series that's super gritty and edgy, I would make not Ridley, Mother Brain, like created for Samus.
Yeah.
Give it sort of like a Doc Ock from Insomniac Spider-Man thing, where you don't want Mother Brain to be evil, but come on.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so that is the Metroid manga is going to be our next thing. I don't believe that there's been an official English release, so
Yeah,
we'll be reading a translation. You can just Google translations if you want to read along with us. And then our next game will be Zero Mission, which you can get on the Game Boy Advance, or you can play it on Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. But yeah, other than that, that's going to be the end of Metroid Prime. I'm Caleb,
and I'm Junko.
and we'll catch you next time.